results. Authentic relationship happens when you encounter immediate results. Jesus says, come to me all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle, humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. When you talk about friendships in our present culture, especially with Facebook, you think about friendship, someone, first of all, receiving from you before they want to say that you're there, that you're their friend. But if you look up a couple definitions on friendship, you'll find from Wikipedia it says friendship is a form of interpersonal relationship generally considered to be closer than an association. Although there's a range of degrees of intimacy in both relationships and friendships and associations, friendship and associations are often thought as expanded across the same continuum and are sometimes viewed as weaknesses. Dictionary.com says a person attached to another by feelings, that's 20 minutes, of affection or personal regard. Friendship is the connection we have with other humans. This relationship can be identified when there is mutuality in treatment of both parties. Friend is more than a word, it's an action. Friends are those that know one another, both the good, the bad, you heard it before, and the ugly. Friends are those that come in your life and will make a difference. True friends will always add value to your life. Friends do not drain you, but add to your life. We have to be careful when we are selecting friends and classifying who they are. Solomon says this, a man of too many friends come to ruin, but there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. The Message Bible reads it this way, friends come and friends go, but a true friend sticks by you like family. My brothers and sisters, that is exactly what Jesus is saying in this passage. Listen to Christ's words. Come to me all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me, for I'm gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Jesus says, I want to give you some immediate results. There's two words in that passage that really sticks out of my mind. Actually three, but two I want to deal with now. The first one is take, and the second one is learn. Take can be defined by John Phillips as a decision that needs to be made. Now up front, you think of a decision being made as, wait a minute, if you tell me that the friendship is free and it's open, why is it the decision? Well, when you think about Jesus' decision, it's different. Jesus says, take my yoke upon you. So you have to understand what a yoke is. I'm a country boy from Mississippi, so I understand a little bit what a yoke, but most city slickers like yourself understand what a yoke is. But my uncle had 2 donkeys and he had 2 mules. And Uncle Harry is his name, and he plowed with them, and so in the summertime we would go to Mississippi to stay out of trouble in New Orleans, and he would take me out in the field and teach me a little bit about farming. Now they didn't have wooden yoke and oxen, but they had straps that they would put on them. So, but a person who had oxen, they would put yoke on them, they would do 2 things. They typically had 2 animals. They would have an experience with the novice, older with the younger, or stronger with the weaker. The novice, the younger, or the weaker animal would benefit if they allowed the experienced, the older, the stronger to lead and bear the weight. This is amazing when you understand that Jesus is saying to us, he says, the decision you are making is simply this, allowing me to get under the load with you, bear and guide you in your journey in life. Again, I have to go with the writer of John Phillips, who says, what greater privilege could there be in all this world than to be yoked to Christ, to be shoulder to shoulder with him, to take him step by step. We are given the opportunity to decide to face with him the unplowed, unplanted field of this world, and to leave behind us lone furrows, and of which are planted in precious seed that is able to bring harvest long after our days on earth are gone. Vernon McGee asks it, he says, my friend, sin is too heavy for you to carry. You will really get a honey if you try to carry loads of sin. The only place in the world that burden is at the cross of Christ. He bore it for you, and he invites you to come, bring your burden to him. He can forgive you because on the cross he bore the sin for you. In 1855, a man by the name of Joseph Stryker wrote a song. I'm not a hymn person, but I love this song. It says, and I think you may know it, what a friend we have in Jesus, all sins and grief to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pains we bear. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful who will all our sorrow share. Jesus know our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Are we weak and heavy laden, cumbered with the load of care? Precious Savior, still our refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Do your friends despise, forsake you? Take it to the Lord in prayer. In his arms, he'll take and shield you. You will find solace there. That's what Jesus asks us to do. Come make a decision, but the decision is not hard. Allow him to get with you and take you on your life journey. Not only does he talk about a decision, but he also talks about a development. Jesus says, learn from me, learn of me. You know, don't just go along with me, but I want you to learn to do what I'm doing. Christ is amazing here because he don't ask you to be any type of trailblazer once you become a Christian. He just simply says, learn to do what I do. I'll show you how to do it. He says, I'm tender and humble. To me, this means that he is compassionate and concerned about your outcome. When you look at this, choosing Jesus seems like a win-win situation. Until this point, everything he has asked us to do is benefiting us. As a matter of fact, John Phillips gives us one more word that I heard from you in the beginning. He says discover. So he talks about his decision, he talks about development, but then he talks about you will discover. What would you discover? Well, he talks about you will find rest. What type of rest? Rest for your soul. The Greek word for rest is anapasis. Anapasis means to take a pause, to take a break, relax, intermission, or in the words of some of the kids today, just chill out for a minute. When I was a boy, I remember that I loved elementary school. I loved going on breaks. I loved when it was time that bell hit and it was time to go out. Well, during break time, you could play sports, you could read a book, you could walk, or do my favorite sport, nothing. So, but when I discovered it, breaks was not designed just for you to play sports, to read a book, or do nothing. It was designed to give your mind a break from the academics and the stress of trying to learn. And this is what Jesus is saying to us. Listen, life can be toiling upon you. Trying to find your way through life and find salvation can be too burdensome for you. However, if you allow me to come into your life, you'll discover a rest you've never seen before, because his rest is a soul rest. His rest is the rest of salvation. As we look at Preacher's outline, it says something else about rest. It says rest is three things. It's a rest of refreshment, a rest of refreshing one's body, mind, and soul. It's a rest that fits one's life, a rest that infuses a person with a true purpose, meaning, and significance. It is a rest of encouragement and motivation of the soul, a rest that stirs a person to live and undertake his God-given tasks and enthusiasm with vigor and endurance. So God, he comes in our lives and he wants to give us some type of rest. That's authentic relationship to me. Authentic relationship first happens when you encounter a connection that is relational and not religious. Secondly, authentic relationship happens when you encounter immediate results. But third and finally, authentic relationship happens when there is reassurance. Verse 30, Jesus says, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. The blessing of connection. Jesus ends his conversation with his followers with a word of reassurance. He tells them and us that if we decide to accept his invite, he guarantees us two things. First of all, he guarantees us a pattern for success. He says, my yoke is easy. What he's saying is my way of doing things is easy, just opposed to the religious one's way of doing things. In religion, it requires you to work or to measure up. Remember the Pharisees is at the height of their cloud when Jesus comes on. And if you mess up, they'll quickly let you know. They open up their little velocitary box and say, this is the law of Moses that you disobeyed. But Jesus is not like that. He said, I want to give you the pattern for success by getting under yoke with me. When I was in the military about 12 years ago, I had the opportunity to fly in a B-1 aircraft. B-1 aircraft is a great aircraft because it's able to go through the speed of sound. As it goes through the speed of sound, it makes a boom for those on the earth, but you're in an airplane, it's like playing a video game. When you see it, you're already there. So I had the opportunity of flying in this airplane, and we flew out over Savannah and over Atlantic Ocean, and we played around out there until I actually got sick. But what I love was when I started out in the aircraft, I was in the back. And in the back, you only had one little people to look out of. But in the front, you can see everything. So the pilot called me on the mic, and he said, come to the front. When I get to the front of the aircraft, I get to sit in the front seat where the co-pilot sat. And when I was in the front seat, I was able to look out and see everything that they was able to see. That's what Jesus is saying in this whole text. He said, come from the back where you can't see anything, and come to the front. And I just want you to be the pilot, be the co-pilot, while I be the pilot. Sometimes we often we mess up because we try to be the pilot until Jesus want to go. But Jesus said, if you just trust me, then I will show you how to go in your life. Secondly, he says, not only a pattern, but he gives a promise of success because he says, my yoke is easy. My burdens, they're light. Jesus said, listen, it's not going to take you out. Now, something I learned in this text, because it says you're going to have some struggles. Every day won't be always sunshine. It will be some rain in your lives as well. But if you're hanging up with me, I guarantee you that at the end of it, there'll be some success. So in my closing, I want to go over a story, and I'll close out from there. It's an old story, but I like it, and it always cheers me up. It's a story of a granddad that went to go see his granddaughter on a trip. He went to go see his granddaughter, and when he gets to the house, she's crying. So he quickly goes to the bedroom, and when he gets to the bedroom where she is, he picks her up. And when he picks her up, she stops crying. The mother comes into the room, and when she finds the granddaddy had picked her up, he said she takes the child from him and put her back in the playpen and said, let her stand there because I'm trying to teach her a lesson. She goes back to the kitchen, do whatever she's doing. The baby starts back crying, but then the baby stops. And so she knows the baby stopped. Let me go check and see if the baby finally learned her lesson. And so she goes back in there. Granddad had the grandbaby back in his arms again. So she takes the grandbaby from him and said, listen, I'm trying to teach her a lesson. Now you have a choice. Leave this baby in the playpen or you can go back home. So she puts the baby back in the playpen, goes back into the kitchen, and the baby started crying, but then the baby stopped. So the mother of the child gets furiously upset. She's going to go kick her daddy out of the house. When she gets back to the room where the child has stopped crying at, she noticed that the granddaddy have actually got in the playpen with the child. So she asked her, why would you get in the playpen with the child? I'm trying to teach the child a lesson. And he says to her, you told me not to take the child out of the playpen, but you didn't say I couldn't get in the playpen with the child. And that's what Jesus is. He says in this whole passage, I may not take you out of the playpen of life, but I will get in the playpen of life with you. Thank you.
Amen.